Donald Trump just got humiliated by his own party, and sources suggest this rebellion signals the beginning of regime collapse from the inside. We're not talking about Democrats opposing him or judges ruling against him. We're talking about reports that nearly 24 House Republicans voted to override Trump vetoes in span of few weeks. That 5 Republican senators joined Democrats advancing measure reining in his Venezuela war powers. That 23rd Republican state senators in Indiana voted with Democrats to kill Trump-backed congressional map. And what might make this moment so significant is the pattern. When 24 Republicans break ranks on one veto vote, 35 on another, 5 senators defy him on war powers, and state legislators reject his redistricting push all within weeks of each other, that's not coincidence.
This morning, the administration is adjusting its tone on the crackdown in Minneapolis.
I do not want to hear that everything that's been done here has been perfect. Nothing's ever perfect, and anything can be improved on. And what we've been working on is making this operation safer, more efficient by the book. The mission is going to improve because of the changes we're making internally.
That could be coordinated breakdown of fear that's kept GOP in line for years. When Republicans start calculating that Trump's endorsement hurts more than it helps, when his threats become empty and his tantrums get ignored, that's not temporary friction. That might be complete collapse of authoritarian control that depended entirely on perception of invincibility. But before we break down how Trump lost control of his own party and why these defections signal accelerating rebellion heading into midterms, real quick, you cannot trust mainstream media to explain that this isn't just few random votes, but coordinated unraveling of Trump's authority across multiple fronts. That's why we built John Brown Show, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want analysis that actually connects Republican rebellion to 2026 midterm panic and collapse of fear-based control, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what we're witnessing might not be minor defections, but rather beginning of full-scale party abandonment. All right, let's get into what happened and why sources suggest it represents inflection point where Trump's regime goes from seemingly unstoppable to visibly vulnerable. Because think about what Trump's power was always based on. Not policy expertise or legislative skill, not popularity or broad coalition building.
Based on the discussions I've had with the governor and the AG, we can start drawing down those resources as far as those looking for public safety threats being released, and do it in the jail with much less people. So the drawdown is going to happen based on these agreements. But the drawdown can happen even more if the hateful rhetoric and the impediment and interference will stop.
His control over Republican Party was built entirely on fear. Fear of mean tweet, fear of primary challenger, fear of being cast out of MAGA universe. That fear kept Republicans in line for years, even when they privately disagreed with him. But now that fear is fading, and when nearly 40 Republicans feel confident enough to defy him on vetoes, when 5 senators publicly rebuke him on war powers, when state legislators kill his redistricting map, that reveals psychological shift. Once Republicans realize they can vote against Trump without getting destroyed, everyone starts doing it. That's how party discipline collapses. One vote at a time until whole structure falls apart. And sources suggest we're watching that collapse happen in real time. Let's start with House veto override attempts, because sources suggest they reveal how dramatically Trump's grip has weakened. Reports indicate House voted on 2 Trump vetoes in January. One for Florida tribe land transfer, one for Colorado water project. These weren't controversial bills. They should have sailed through without anyone noticing. But Trump vetoed them probably just to flex, to remind Congress who's in charge, to demonstrate he still has power. And what happened? 24 Republicans voted to override on one bill, 35 on another. They looked at Trump's veto and said, we're voting against him. Think about what that means. Trump vetoes something expecting loyalty and compliance. Instead, he gets dozens of defections from members who supposedly worship him. Sources suggest that's not just policy disagreement, that's direct repudiation of his authority. And while they didn't get 2/3 needed for actual override, the defection numbers tell entire story. In party that's supposed to be unified behind Trump Having 24 to 35 members publicly vote against him on simple bills reveals fracture that can't be hidden, and there's specific calculation behind those votes. Reports indicate Republicans in swing districts looked at polls showing Trump is toxic with suburban voters and independents. They recognize that following him blindly means losing their seats in 2026 midterms, so they broke ranks to distance themselves from his agenda. Sources suggest that's cold political calculation happening because fear of Trump's retaliation no longer outweighs fear of losing election. When survival instinct trumps loyalty to Trump, his control is finished. Because once floodgates open and people realize they can defy him without consequences, everyone starts doing it. Think about what happens next. Every Republican who voted against those vetoes is watching to see if Trump actually primaries them, if he follows through on threats. And sources suggest when those threats don't materialize or when his endorsed candidates lose, it proves his power was always psychological, that he controlled through perception of invincibility rather than actual ability to punish defection. And once that perception cracks, the power disappears entirely. Reports indicate we're watching that process unfold, where Republicans test boundaries, discover there are no real consequences, and defections accelerate. But veto rebellions weren't only front where Trump got defied. Sources suggest 5 Republican senators delivered even more significant blow by joining Democrats on Venezuela war powers resolution. Think about who those senators were: Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, Todd Young. That's not just moderates from blue states. That includes Trump allies like Hawley, who are supposed to be loyal. And they voted to restrict Trump's authority to use military force in Venezuela. Reports indicate war powers are a core pillar of executive authority. Presidents hate giving them up. Congress rarely challenges them. Trump built entire foreign policy around acting unilaterally without consultations or approvals. So when 5 GOP senators vote to restrict him, that's direct shot at his authority. And Trump knew it. Sources suggest he went nuclear on Truth Social, called them out by name, said they should never hold office again, threatened them publicly. But here's critical part. They didn't back down. They didn't apologize. They doubled down. Think about what that reveals. Trump's threats used to work. Republicans used to cave immediately when he attacked them, but now sources suggest they're looking at political landscape and calculating that Trump's tantrum isn't worth risking seats over. Because a lot of Republicans are tired of endless wars and interventions. Their constituents don't want another Iraq or Afghanistan. And Venezuela is exactly type of conflict that makes voters nervous. So these senators made choice. Defy Trump on war powers, maybe survive re-election. Follow him into unpopular intervention, definitely lose. And there's broader significance. Reports indicate when senators publicly rebuke president on executive authority and he can't punish them effectively, that demonstrates weakness everyone can see. Other Republicans noticed that Hawley defied Trump and nothing happened. That Rand Paul voted against him and survived. Sources suggest that emboldens more defections because it proves Trump's bark is worse than his bite. His threats are empty. His power was always based on fear. And once fear evaporates, control disappears entirely. Share this video with everyone you know because there's also 2026 midterm dimension. Sources suggest Republicans in competitive seats are looking at polls showing Trump underwater with swing voters. They're calculating that being associated with his unpopular Venezuela intervention hurts their chances. So they're breaking now to establish independence before campaign season intensifies. Reports indicate every senator who defied Trump on war powers is thinking about their own survival, not party loyalty. And when survival instinct dominates, Trump's control is finished regardless of how much he rages on social media. But perhaps most stunning rebellion happened in Indiana state legislature, where sources suggest 21 Republican state senators joined Democrats killing Trump-backed congressional map. Think about context. Indiana is deep red state. Trump won it easily. Republicans control legislature completely. So when Trump backed new map designed to lock in GOP seats for next decade, everyone assumed it would pass. It seemed like done deal. But 21 Republicans voted it down 31-9. That's blowout rejection in state Trump dominates. Reports indicate why would Republicans in red state vote against MAP benefiting their own party? Because they're thinking about optics and voter backlash. They're recognizing that blatant gerrymandering looks terrible to suburban voters and independents. And critically, they're thinking about Trump. Sources suggest Trump's name has become toxic, even in red states. If you're a Republican trying to win over moderate voters, last thing you want is being seen as Trump's lackey on obvious gerrymander. So they voted it down. They publicly rejected Trump's map in state he won. Think about what that signals. When Republicans in safe red territory refuse to follow Trump's lead, that's not just political calculation. That might be complete breakdown of his authority. Sources suggest if he can't control state legislature in Indiana, what can he control? Reports indicate answer is increasingly nothing. His influence is shrinking. His threats don't work. His endorsements hurt more than help. And Republicans are noticing that pattern and adjusting accordingly. And there's precedent-setting dimension. Every state watching Indiana rebellion sees that Republicans can defy Trump on redistricting without getting destroyed. Sources suggest that encourages similar defections elsewhere as legislators calculate their own political interests matter more than maintaining Trump's approval. Reports indicate once that cascade starts, it accelerates because each successful rebellion makes next one easier. That's how authoritarian control collapses. Not in single dramatic moment, but gradually as people stop being afraid. But all these rebellions culminated in what sources suggest was Trump's ultimate humiliation, the spending bill. Reports indicate late January, House passed massive funding package 341-88, overwhelmingly bipartisan. And buried in that bill were reversals of Trump's most controversial budget cuts. Cuts to medical research, refugee aid, education funding all restored. Republicans looked at Trump's budget, saw backlash from hospitals and universities and community groups, and decided we're not defending this. We're not being party that cuts cancer research to fund tax cuts. So they worked with Democrats. They passed Bill Trump didn't want. And when White House realized they didn't have votes to stop it, sources suggest Trump caved completely. He said he'd sign it rather than risk government shutdown. Think about what that surrender reveals. Trump had no leverage, his threats didn't work, his demands got ignored, and everyone saw his weakness. That's moment when power truly shifts in politics, when everyone realizes emperor has no clothes and threats are empty. Reports indicate this wasn't isolated incident. This was culmination of pattern where Republicans across multiple fronts simultaneously decided Trump's priorities don't matter more than their own survival. And once that calculation spreads through party, control evaporates. Sources suggest Trump spent years building authority on perception he was invincible, but spending bill proved he's not. He can be defied, he can be overridden, he can be forced to accept outcomes he opposes, and in politics, once everyone sees you're powerless, you become powerless. That's self-fulfilling prophecy. Share this with everyone because there's also timing significance. All of this happened within span a few weeks. Veto rebellions, war powers defiance, Indiana map rejection, spending bill surrender. Sources suggest that's not random coincidence. That's momentum building as Republicans see other Republicans break ranks successfully and realize they can do it too. Reports indicate each defection makes next one easier because it proves there are no real consequences. Trump's primary threats are empty. His truth social rage doesn't move polls. His endorsements don't guarantee victories. Once that reality becomes clear, the dam breaks and everyone runs for exits. So where does this go as 2026 midterms approach? Sources suggest defections will only accelerate because political incentives all point one direction: away from Trump, towards survival, towards showing swing voters they're reasonable moderates who will work with Democrats. That message wins in competitive districts. Loyalty to Trump doesn't. So Republicans will choose survival every time. Reports indicate that means Trump will spend next year watching his party abandon him piece by piece while he rages impotently, unable to stop it. And his agenda is dead. He came into 2026 thinking he had total control to ram through priorities, but he can't because he doesn't have votes. Not anymore. Sources suggest Republicans are breaking ranks on everything. If he can't hold party together on basic bills, He has no chance on controversial legislation. That means gridlock for next 2 years. Trump becomes lame duck president, signing whatever Congress sends him or vetoing and getting overridden. Reports indicate he won't be driving policy or setting agenda, just reacting, trying to hold on, trying to stay relevant. That's not leadership, that's survival mode, and everyone can see it. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown Show because there's ultimate question. Sources suggest Trump's entire legacy is crumbling as his own party rejects him while he's still in office. Strong leaders don't get defied by their own members on camera repeatedly. Weak ones do, failed ones do. Reports indicate that's image that will define him historically. Not rally crowds or tough talk, but president who couldn't hold his party together, who got publicly rebuked by his own senators, who spent final years watching control slip away. That's legacy he can't escape. And once you're seen as weak, once people stop fearing you, you're done in politics. Perception is reality, and reality right now is Trump is losing. So here's what Republican rebellion reveals. 24 Republicans voted against one veto, 35 against another. 5 senators defied Trump on Venezuela war powers. 21 Indiana state senators killed his redistricting map. House passed spending bill reversing his cuts 341 to 88, all within weeks. Sources suggest that's not random. That's coordinated breakdown of fear-based control. When Trump's threats become empty, when endorsements hurt more than help, when survival instinct trumps loyalty, regime collapses. His agenda is dead, authority evaporated, party abandoning him. Question is how fast complete collapse happens as 2026 midterms approach and more Republicans calculate defection is only path to survival. Stay tuned.